I'd like to start by sharing a personal story about a moment of fear and uncertainty for my family. But it's also a story about love, community, and the power of generosity. 2 years ago, I got a call no parent wants to receive. I'm calling from North Shore Dermatology. Your daughter Katie passed out and hit her head. We can't reach her husband, and you are her other emergency contact. The ambulance is taking her to Evanston Hospital. My heart was pounding as Tracy and I rushed there. Doctors told us that Katie had suffered a traumatic brain injury, and they couldn't predict the outcome. At that moment, we didn't know whether Katie would live or die. Katie spent 5 days in the ICU. We later learned that people with a frontal lobe brain bleed struggle with emotional control, mood stability, and migraines that could last weeks, months, or permanently. But before I go any further, let me share the good news. Katie has fully recovered. She's once again a loving daughter, devoted wife and mother, and brilliant environmental strategist we adore. We are profoundly grateful. Still, during those few weeks, we were terrified. One particular day in the ICU was especially traumatic for our family. I had to step out of Katie's room. I felt so helpless, so anxious, so frightened. I frantically paced the hospital corridors, trying not to fall apart. I needed support, someone to lean on. And then an idea came to me. Call the WOW team. For those new here, WOW stands for Within Our Walls, a UUSG ministry offering care and support. One WOW member, Jennifer Mackey, didn't hesitate. She drove all the way to Evanston, picked me up at the hospital, took me to lunch, and listened, really listened, as I poured out every fear, every worry, every detail of that day's events. Her compassion, her calm presence, and her willingness to sit with me in that painful moment. It calmed my heart in a way nothing else could have. Meanwhile, back home, WOW members Sherry Wilson and Laz Escalona immediately stepped in to care for our dog Ranger. And Carol Meyer, co-chair of WOW, dropped off soup, bread, and dessert. That day reminded me why our pledges matter. They fuel a community where both giving and receiving flow in a steady, interdependent circle, anchored in the values we hold most dear. And that generosity of spirit doesn't stop at our doors. It ripples outward, touching lives we may never know. And its impact, especially for someone that's hurting, can't be measured in dollars and cents. We are generous people. That's who we are, as a congregation, as a community, as people. Every week in this church, we see generosity in action, in the hands of those who prepare coffee hour or offer a warm welcome, in the hearts of our worship team and our e-teachers, in the voices of our musicians and choir members who lift our spirits, and in the steady focus of our tech team, making sure everything runs smoothly. We see generosity towards the wider world in our acts of service to Trinity Soup Kitchen and the Food Bank, in our donations to the homeless veterans and immigrant children, in building habitat houses and staying overnight at Lazarus House. We see it when we show up at marches, at vigils, at demonstrations, lending our voices to freedom, equality, compassion, and justice. When we lift up these acts of generosity and say out loud, "This is who we are," we inspire each other to live in that identity even more fully. Our generosity takes many forms. We give of our time, energy, creativity, presence, and yes, our financial resources. Together, all of these gifts sustain our congregation and everything it offers to our members and to the wider community. Today, as we officially kick off our annual pledge drive, I want to say how honored I am to serve as chair, along with an amazing pledge drive team. On our team, we have 2 Kathys, 2 Allens, 2 Toms, Christine, and Molly. I decided the most efficient way to run a pledge drive is to have 2 of everyone. And Dave and Andy helped with materials, and I'm so grateful for all of their support. Our theme this year is simple and true. We are generous people, living our values, giving our values. As Unitarian Universalists, we live by 6 shared values, all centered around love. We honor our shared connection, interdependence. We affirm that every person matters, equality. We work for fairness, accountability, and restoration, justice. We grow and change together, transformation. We welcome many beliefs and cultures, pluralism. And we practice generosity in how we care for one another and the wider world. These values remind us that giving is not separate from our faith. It is one of the ways we live it. Tracy and I proudly support UUSG with our time and money because it reflects these values and because our church lives them every day. Sometimes people hear the word pledge and think of it just as a practical thing, keeping the lights on, paying the staff, meeting our budget. And yes, it does all of that, and I'm very grateful. But a pledge is something much more. Each pledge is a statement of commitment, an act of faith in what we are building together. When you pledge, you are fueling ministry. You are supporting worship that inspires courage and integrity. You are nurturing programs that help our children and youth grow into people who care, who question, who imagine. And you are strengthening a community that stands for love and inclusion in a world that needs both so desperately. Generosity is not just about sustaining the present. It's about shaping a world of possibilities. But before we talk about giving, let's pause and reflect on something deeper, our relationship with money. Each of us carries a story about money, shaped by our families, our experiences, and our culture. Let me share a little bit of my own story. Money was tight when I was growing up. My father, a Hungarian refugee, had once been a prominent judge and lawyer, but lost everything during the Hungarian Revolution. He came to America with nothing and took a manual labor job. He met my mother of Italian heritage, and they had me. My mother stayed home to raise me while they scrimped and saved every penny, determined to make a better life for me. Growing up around my Italian aunts and uncles, I watched how they guarded their spending, how little they tipped, and how they showed affection in ways that didn't involve opening their wallets. I learned to hold tightly to every penny, Money saved felt like a promise of a better future. I constantly worried that I might do something stupid, something foolish with my money. Much of that fear came from the stories my family carried. It has taken me a long time to examine my relationship with money, to notice how much fear is attached to it, and how a scarcity mindset often led me to unnecessarily restrict my spending. And although I'm not completely there yet, I'm slowly coming to a healthier place, one where money no longer feels like a source of fear, but as a tool to support my values. Money, I've learned, can become one of the greatest expressions of trust and love. That's been part of my spiritual journey, learning to move from fear to trust, from holding tight to opening up. And I know I'm not alone. Each of us carries our own money story. For some, money means safety, the reassurance that we'll be okay. For others, it represents freedom to make choices, to live on our own terms. For some, it's tied to achievement, proof that our work matters. And for others still, it carries fear and shame, memories of struggle, scarcity, and not living up. Typical money scripts are subconscious, often unexamined stories people tell themselves about money, such as, money should be saved and not spent, or I don't deserve money, or they don't deserve money. These stories are simply the lenses through which we see the world, and they shape our giving. That is why generosity is a spiritual practice, because it invites us to look with compassion and curiosity at these inner stories. It asks, what does money mean to me? Is my story written in fear or in love? And if it were written in love, what would my giving to this church look like this year? When we bring awareness to our relationship with money, we open the door to freedom and deeper joy. Giving becomes a tool to support our values rather than an obligation. Regardless of how much or how little we have, using what we have to support our values is a form of liberation. We begin to see that generosity doesn't drain us, it connects us, it enriches us. It reminds us that what truly matters isn't held in our wallets, but in our relationships, in our values, in our shared dreams. Giving becomes a declaration. I believe in this community. I believe in what we are doing together. And generosity is contagious. When one person gives with joy, others are inspired to do the same. When one person says, I believe in this church, it strengthens the faith of everyone around them. And when we give together, our individual gifts become something far greater, a living expression of community. Some of us may be in a position to give more, and we hope you are inspired to do so. Others may be in a place where receiving support is what is needed and giving isn't possible right now, and that's okay. Financial pledges matter because they keep our mission alive, but they are not the only measure of our commitment or care. Gifts of time, energy, and talents are also vital to the life of this congregation. Think of all the ways generosity has shaped this church over the years. Think of our first minister, Reverend Augustus Conant, who built this sanctuary not just with wood and nails, but with hope and vision. Think of the members who welcomed you when you first arrived. Think of the sermons, the songs, the friendships, the comfort, the courage you found here. We come together during grief. We come together to celebrate joy. All of this existed because people gave freely, faithfully, lovingly. We give because generosity is a way of life that we choose together. And now, we have an opportunity to put that into action. You'll be receiving pledge materials in the mail this week, which includes helpful guidance if you're wondering how much to pledge. I invite you to spend some time reviewing everything. A great deal of care, thought, and love went into creating these materials, and the message they carry is important. We ask that you please submit your pledge forms by March 29th, so the finance team can propose a budget that reflects our values and funds our programs for the coming year. We are stewards of this moment. Our hands and hearts will carry this congregation forward. When we give, we're not just sustaining the present. We're creating a world where children learn that love is stronger than hate, where those who feel lost and alone find comfort, where music fills weary spirits, and where justice and compassion guide our actions. This is what pledges make possible. So as we begin this year's pledge drive, let us reflect on what this community means to us. And remember, we are generous people. Together, yes, together, we make this congregation thrive. Thank you.
Visit us at uusg.org.